So there's the front row of the grid. Brian Morrison, pole position, as I said, 0.2 of a second outside the lap record. Then alongside him, Mark Linscott, who, like Morrison, is riding a Honda. Trevor Nation, number 5 from Salisbury, on yet another Honda. V 4-cylinder machines, these 750s. He's just having number 64 there is Charlie Corner, just making sure his machine's going to start when he wants it to, which he doesn't seem to be succeeding in doing at the present moment. Charlie Corner, who comes from North Moulton, ex-250cc champion, not too happy about things from the look of them, because this is a clutch start, you see. They're sitting on the bikes with the engines running, the clutch held out with the left hand, the gear already in first. So 10 laps, 23.6 miles, and the man to beat is very much Brian Morrison, number 2, because he has won 6 of the 8 rounds, finished second in one of the others, failed to finish the 7th, and that means any time up to 30 seconds, and they've gone immediately into the right-hander at Allard. Now the complex, Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave. This is Cobb, the left-hander. Now Seagrave, the right-hander. Solid pack of riders, but already the leader is a long, long way ahead of the last man on the track. So dramatic is his performance advantage, and it looks very much to me like Brian Morrison. It is Brian Morrison, who was something like a second faster in practice than anybody else. He's really demonstrating his class. He went round in 1:23.9. The second fastest, Mark Linscott, went round in 1:24.4. And Morrison is not only leading the senior stock championship, he's in first place in the super stock championship, second in the Formula One championship. This ex-bakery salesman from Kirkcaldy. And he's really stamping his mark on British racing in the national classes at the moment, hoping to take part in Grand Prix racing next year. Here he comes through the chicane, the end of the first lap, and already at the end of the first lap, he has a 2-second lead over Steve Chambers in second position, and that is very interesting because Steve Chambers in the yellow top leathers, you'll just see him as you watch Brian Morrison now, is only having his second ride on an RC30 Honda. But up into second place now, it's Mark Phillips, his highest place this year, second position. He's on a Yamaha. These bikes produce about 110 horsepower from their 750cc blueprinted standard engines. And Brian Morrison is really in a class of his own at the moment. You're looking at the second man, Mark Phillips, from Steeple Morden, the Formula One British champion of 1986. There is Brian Morrison on lap 2, so he's got another 8 full laps to go at the end of this one. And well, if Morrison is wanting to make a television demonstration, hopefully to help him with his sponsorship for 1989, he is certainly succeeding. This tall, quiet, crew-cutted Scot is, look at it, that's the gap after 2 laps, and he's still got 8 to go. Mark Phillips goes through in second position. In third position, it is Steve Chambers. Behind Chambers in fourth position, it is Gary Weston. In fifth position, it's Ray Stringer. And in sixth place, Dennis Ireland. Morrison. Now let's have a look at the gap which exists between Brian Morrison and the second place man. This is quite astounding because he won't have an enormous machine advantage over the others. Anybody can buy the bike that he is on, provided, or bike like the one he's on, provided they've got enough money to do so. Cost them a lot of money, but they are available. So there is the battle for third and fourth positions. In third position it's Steve Chambers leading there, and in fourth place it's Gary Weston. Chambers on a Honda, Gary Weston on a Suzuki, and it is actually getting a bit exciting behind them, with Morrison now coming down to club the chicane for the third time. Another 7 laps to go, and there is a real fight for third position. Mark Phillips is second. There goes Mark Phillips through the chicane. But look at this battle for third position, with leading it Steve Chambers, number 6. Behind him in fourth place is Gary Weston. Then behind Weston, Trevor Nation on the Honda. Behind Trevor Nation in sixth position, Ray Stringer. And 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th are not so very far behind either. Here is Steve Chambers. That is definitely the bike of 1988. The RC30 Honda. Steve Chambers pulling away a bit in second place, pulling away from the battle now between Gary Weston, who is in fourth place, Trevor Nation, who is fifth. There is Chambers. Mark Phillips second, Chambers third. And you can see from the width of Thruxton that there is plenty of room for riders to pass, if only they can build up the speed. And building up the speed depends on how quickly they can get out of the corners. The surface is absolutely superb for dry conditions. Some worries for motorcycles in the wet, which they certainly had this morning when the practice was very, very wet indeed. But for the conditions that we've got at the moment, the track surface is excellent. And now Mark Phillips has gone through in second place. Here is the battle for third, going out of club, led still by Steve Chambers, who comes from Saxelby. And that is Brian Morrison, the incomparable Brian Morrison, in the classes that he rides in. He's in 5 races today. He's ridden in 1 already and finished in 5th place. Now look at the win he's going to have, and this will be the 7th time that Morrison will have won in this class. Morrison goes through out of Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave. There behind him is Mark Phillips in the Yamaha, and here is the battle for third. So it's Morrison and Phillips way out. Steve Chambers, number 6 there, still in third position. And the best that Steve Chambers has had since he switched to his Honda was a 3rd place at Snetterton and a 4th at Cadwell, which you may well have seen. But he's lost it. He's lost that 3rd position now, and the 4th position, because up ahead of Steve Chambers, who goes down to 2 places, but he's fighting back now. He's up into 4th place as I talk to you, and as I talk to you, Brian Morrison crosses the line. Mark Linscott, who was 2nd fastest in practice, comes from Nottingham, is up into 3rd place now. Heel right, heel left, heel right again, out of the chicane. 5 laps completed, 5 to go. Linscott is up into 3rd position. Down to 4th place goes Steve Chambers, and there he is. Behind Chambers in 5th position now, it's Dennis Ireland, the New Zealand rider, the man who won the Belgian Grand Prix some years ago. And here is the battle for that 3rd position that we're looking at. That's Chambers, who is actually in 4th place, was when he crossed the line anyway, and is still. Linscott ahead of him, but Chambers is going to have to fight to hold his 4th position, because as you see, Dennis Ireland is right behind him. That's the man in the blue leathers, right over on the side walls of the tyres. Ireland is trying to sneak through on the inside of Steve Chambers, who cuts across to the apex, coming out of Church, going into Church now, out of Church now, onto the fastest part of the course, Brooklands, up into top gear, and they can hang on to top gear and maximum revs for quite a long time, as 3, 6, 9, 10 riders, and searing through. There goes Chambers again. He really took his courage in both hands there and went for it as they approached the chicane, and he's back into third position. Ahead of him still is Brian Morrison and Mark Phillips. This is the battle for third. Linscott retakes it. Linscott on the Honda has retaken third position from Chambers on the Honda. Crouch down over the bars. This is lap 7. The fastest lap we have so far is Brian Morrison, who has broken the lap record. Brian Morrison has gone round 1/10 of a second faster than the lap record at some 101.5 miles an hour in perfect conditions. He gets 2 points for a fastest lap, 15 for victory. Morrison, there he is. There is the leader on the 7th lap. 3 laps to go at the end of this one. He's won 6 times. He's finished second once, 2. 7 fastest laps, well 8 fastest laps now, because I can't. Looks over his shoulder and there's nobody in sight. A familiar story for Brian Morrison, who's raced in New Zealand, raced in South Africa, British production champion, 4-time Scottish champion, 8 years experience, and he's really got a lot of ability now, which will more than justify him moving up to Grand Prix racing if he can raise the money to get the machine to pay for the ride. He's riding magnificently. You'd think he was in a race of his own. Well, he is virtually. Perfect timing, excellent line, and Brian Morrison is leading this Motorcycle News EBC Brakes Superstock race at Thruxton on lap 8 out of 10, and nothing short of mechanical problems are going to stop him, because look, that is quite incredible. And still nobody in sight. Now, this should be Mark Phillips coming towards us, number 4 on the Yamaha. Yes, it is Mark Phillips on the Yamaha. Well, and a change there, because surging past Mark Phillips, and you can see how spread out they are behind the Englishman now, Mark Phillips, with Scotsman Brian Morrison way, way, way ahead as they come down Brooklands, down Woodham Hill, into the chicane. Morrison is starting his penultimate lap, his 9th lap out of 10 now, as into second place there is Mark Phillips, but it is Linscott ahead. Linscott is now second, Phillips is third, Chambers is in 4th position, and I think Mark Phillips has got a problem. That's Mark Linscott on lap 9. Well, he has suddenly found a burst of extra speed, because he's pulling away hand over fist from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th men behind him. He's not going to make any impression on Brian Morrison that could affect the Scotsman's chances of winning. But Linscott, like Morrison, is riding magnificently. And behind, now, you saw behind him Mark Phillips in the red leathers on the Yamaha. It's Honda leading, Honda second, Morrison leading. This man, number 16, Linscott, in second place. And now the battle for third, which Mark Phillips is just holding. Mark Phillips from Steepleford, ex-farmer, makes his living out of motorcycle racing these days. And Morrison is coming up to the chicane to start now, shortly, his last lap into the chicane for the 9th time. Here he is, and I'll tell you what the gap is between Brian Morrison on his Honda and Mark Linscott in second position. And Morrison there on his last lap has broken the lap record, and he leads Mark Linscott now. He's going through to start his last lap by an amazing 13 seconds, but Chambers is up to 3rd. Nation is up to 4th. We're staying with Brian Morrison, but Steve Chambers has moved up into 3rd position. Morrison has moved up into 4th position. Up into 5th position has gone Dennis Ireland. Into 6th position, Gary Weston. And Mark Phillips is missing So he's dropped right back. And this is the last, the victorious lap of the seemingly unbeatable, certainly in this class of racing, Brian Morrison. 107.5 points he has already. He will add another 17 to that. 124.5 points for the Scotsman. Absolutely on his own. Down now, through Brooklands, flat out in top gear. He sees the chicane club corner coming up in front of him. I can tell you that the checkered flag is ready to receive him home, and it is going to be the 7th time in 8 races that Brian Morrison has seen that checkered flag first. Well, he's made his point, but behind him there is indeed a fight, because now Linscott has gone missing, and Chambers is coming through to take second place. Number 6, Steve Chambers. Trevor Nation is going to finish in 3rd position. In 4th place, Gary Weston, and in 5th place, Dennis Ireland, ahead of David Crampton in 6th place, as you see Brian Morrison riding happily home on his victory lap. Victory then for Brian Morrison. Steve Chambers in 2nd place, Trevor Nation in 3rd position, Gary Weston in 4th place, Dennis Ireland in 5th position, and David Crampton 6th. If you're a British motorcycle racing enthusiast, I don't think there'll be much argument about the fact that the greatest name in the history of the sport is this one, Norton. Well, Norton have been out of racing for many, many years, sadly, but now they've not only come back, but they've come back with a tremendously advanced machine, 600cc, and it's a rotary engine, totally different from anything else in road racing. Simon Buckmaster is going to be riding it today. Simon, you've had a lot of experience with normal engine machines. How different is it to ride the Norton?
It's very different. The power curve is constant. It pulls right from nothing right through to its maximum rev, which is about 10,000. It's a superb bike to ride.
Now that 600cc translates to what in terms of brake horsepower?
We think around about 140 at the moment.
That is incredible. And top speed here at Thruxton?
At Thruxton, about 150, I would say.
It's tremendously encouraging to see Norton back in road racing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I hope the fans are enjoying it.
I can promise you that the fans were enjoying it in practice today. This number 14 that you're looking at is Simon on his 140 horsepower Norton, and we're about to see the Shell Oils ACU King of Thruxton round 6 out of 11 for the Formula 1 machines. Now, Formula 1 means 750cc if it's a 4-stroke, 500cc if it is a 2-stroke. They produce about, as Simon said, 135, 140 brake horsepower. They will do, with the correct gearing, about 180 miles an hour, not here at Thruxton. And on the grid, down there, in pole position is Carl Fogarty, the man who won the Ulster Grand Prix this year. He's riding one of the fabulous RC 3750cc Hondas. Number 2, Brian Morrison on the grid there, is second in the championship, because Daryl Dixon is leading the championship, and they're going round on the parade lap now. And the fact that Darren Dixon is leading the championship is very significant indeed, because unlike most of the others who are on 750cc machines, Darren is riding a full Grand Prix 4-cylinder 500cc RGP Suzuki, and the P stands for Paget of Batley, who have now the world rights to build these 4-cylinder racing Suzukis. And Darren Dixon is certainly paying their sponsorship back. He's won all 3 of the Formula 1 races that we have shown on Grandstand this year. I think he's going to have a job to win this one, because Thruxton doesn't suit the Suzuki as well as it suits the RC30 Honda. A lap record here in Formula 1 is held by no less a man than the reigning world champion in Grand Prix racing, Wayne Gardner. He did a lap at 1:25, which is 99.8 miles an hour. Another of the lap records at Thruxton, which is so very close to, but not in excess of 100 miles an hour. We might see it beaten today, because although the course was wet earlier on after rain, it has dried out. There's a dry line all the way round as I look at it, and they're coming now down into the club chicane, which is a second gear corner, and through to line up on the grid. This should be a really terrific race, because we have amongst the riders Roger Marshall, who's riding the Cosworth 820cc twin, and if you say 850 is in excess of 750, you are quite right, but they get a special dispensation by virtue of the fact that it's a 4-stroke twin. Number 2 is Brian Morrison's machine that you just saw briefly in your picture there, and over on the left-hand side of the grid, as you look at it, on the right-hand side of the grid as he sits there, is Darren Dixon. He's riding number 9, the Suzuki, in his very distinctive yellow leathers. Darren Dixon, 25 years old. There, number 5 is Trevor Nation on the left, well, roughly in the middle now. Trevor Nation, who's riding a Norton, the same as Simon Buckmasters, and Trevor actually knocked 1.5 seconds off the Formula 1 lap record at Donington in the British Grand Prix meeting, and it's tremendously heartening for motorcycle enthusiasts of racing to see the proud name of Norton back at the front again. It won its first race as a rotary in the hands of Andy McGladdery at Carnaby recently. Number 19 on the green Mini Kawasaki there is Roger Hurst. Roger Hurst, who's held the Northwest 200 lap record in his time. So it's all set to go now, but the revs die down and away they go. A very good start by Mark Phillips, but I think he's lost the advantage. In fact, he has lost the advantage as they go into the right-hander at Allard. Each of those engines punching out something like 130 brake horsepower, and it's Jamie Whittam in the lead, who has already won one of the major races here today. 21-year-old Jamie Whittam, completely unperturbed by the fact that he fell off at over 140 miles an hour in practice this morning. And Whittam now on the Suzuki, number 69, when you see him come through the chicane. There he goes. Well, can the others do anything about this tall, lanky man from Huddersfield? Well, there's Darren Dixon is coming up well. I can see him in the picture as they come down now to the right-hander at Church. This is where they start the sweep down from Brooklands, which is left-handed at about 150 miles an hour as they come out of the left-hander here. And there's going to be a change for the lead now. Up into the lead comes Darren Dixon on the Suzuki, the 4-cylinder 500cc IGP Suzuki. He leads the championship, and it looks as though he's going to prove my prophecy that the Suzuki wouldn't suit Thruxton as well as the other circuits to be wrong. In third position, it is Phil Mellor. So it's a Suzuki 500 leading, then the big Suzuki of Jamie Whittam, then the big Suzuki of Phil Mellor, number 10, who, like Jamie, comes from Huddersfield. There is Phil Mellor. He's the man who had our camera at Carnaby, and we saw some pretty exciting shots from him. 3 times winner of the TT, 4 times British champion, Phil Mellor, who hasn't had the best of seasons so far, and will be very anxious indeed to put that right here at Thruxton. Now, leading the championship, Dixon, he is 12 points ahead of Morrison, and Morrison was not even in the first 8 at the end of the first lap. At the end of the first lap, it was Dixon who's leading now, Whittam who is in second place, Mellor in third position. In fourth position behind Mellor, Steve Spray, who comes from Nottingham. Fifth was Carl Fogarty, the Ulster Grand Prix winner, and in sixth position, Mark Phillips. Well, here they come now, completely dry, down to the chicane, approaching it at nearly 160 miles an hour. They knock off the revs, go down into second gear, about 55 miles an hour. Darren Dixon leading. He's had his machine at Mallory for testing this week, after having seized it in the British Grand Prix meeting, and Whittam is going for it. Jamie Whittam tucked into the wheel tracks of Darren Dixon as they go into the right-hander at Allard at 130 miles an hour. Now they're up to about 150, believe it or not, 12,000 RPM, sixth gear, and Whittam's in front. Whittam leads, Jamie Whittam through Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave. Campbell the right-hander, Cobb the left-hander, now Seagrave the right-hander. Third gear, 80 miles an hour, accelerate away, and Brian Morrison has gone into the pits. Brian Morrison second in the championship. He's not going to score any points in this race. 2 laps completed, 8 laps to go, including this one. And Jamie Whittam, who is getting better and better, meeting by meeting, having won once already here today, now leads. His father is in hospital, having had some heart problems, and the good news for Mr. Whittam Senior is that Jamie's won one race today, and he's well placed to win another, and the most important race of the afternoon. That should cheer you up, Mr. Whittam. Well, here comes Jamie. Second is Darren Dixon, and Phil Mellor is closing up on both of them. Phil Mellor, number 10, 8th in the championship. 13 years of racing, and look how close it is, and Steve Spray in 4th position on another RG Suzuki, like the leader Darren Dixon is in 4th position and gaining. Steve Spray riding a terrific race, rode in the British Grand Prix, over 50 wins in his riding. Here he is, Steve Spray, there he is, number 43. Carl Fogarty has gone into the pits, and the reason that Brian Morrison went into the pits and out of the race is that he had suspension problems. Campbell, now Cobb, and it's Whittam, Dixon and Phil Mellor, who said to me today it hasn't been the best of 1988s, and I want to try and put it right this year. And look how hard he's trying. He's up into 2nd position almost, and they're both closing on Whittam. Church corner, 145 out of Church, building up speed. Steve Spray is catching all 3 of them because it's the usual story. The 3 in front are getting in each other's way, each of them trying to occupy the ideal racing line, and none of them able to do so. And that means that Steve Spray has been able to close up from about a 10-length machine gap to where he is now as they go over the line, and we'll take a lap time and see how they're going in relation to Wayne Gardner's lap record, 1 minute 25 seconds, 99.8 miles an hour. Can we see the first 100-mile-an-hour lap for these Formula One machines at Thruxton today? It seems likely. You can see that the track is warming up. They're casting shadows now as they heel over right onto the sidewalls of their tyres. Dixon giving away 250 cc's, but don't forget that Dixon is on a pure Grand Prix racing machine. The handling will be better than the bigger machines that he is up against. He may have less power, but the handling will compensate for that, and it isn't all that much less power anyway, and he's up into 2nd position, and he's going for first, and he's in first. Darren Dixon takes the lead by about a machine's length from Jamie Whittam as he comes out of Village onto Church, out of Church to Brooklands, first, second, third, fourth, as quickly as you can say it. Dixon, Whittam, Steve Spray has just gone round at 1 minute 22.9. He has shattered the lap record. Steve Spray has broken the lap record by a tremendous margin. That is over 100 miles an hour. So, for the moment, the new lap record holder is Steve Spray, and that explains how it was that he caught up so much. You can see where he is. He's 4th at the present moment. 4 Suzukis, albeit of very different capacities, because the Steve Spray and Darren Dixon are both on 500cc machines, and the others are on 750cc's. The Grand Prix Suzukis are 2 strokes, the 750cc Suzukis are 4 strokes, and look how evenly matched these production racing machines are. as they go around Thruxton. We're on lap 6. This race is the best we have had today. It's terrific, and Steve Spray is up into 3rd position. Number 43, Steve Spray, 24 years old, 3rd in the championship. When he's not riding bikes, he drives a minibus, taking handicapped children. What a difference in his week work to what he's doing now. 3 years experience, 2nd in the production championship in 1985. The Prince of Pembrey, as they call it, 3 years in succession. And there he goes, Steve Spray on the RG Suzuki 500cc. They're already lapping tail enders. They're on the 7th lap. And this has given Darren Dixon a bit of a break, because that back marker has held the others up. Darren Dixon has broken away. 3 times a winner in our grandstand Formula One coverage this year. Looks as though he's going to make it 4, leading the championship by 12 points from Brian Morrison, who has already retired. Steve Spray is 3rd in the championship. Carl Fogarty, who is not in the running in the race, he's not in the first 12 because he's been into the pits, is 4th in the championship. So if Darren Dixon can maintain his lead now, he's going to be in a tremendously commanding position, because this is round 6 of the championship. There are 11 rounds, of which 9 count. So, lap 7, Dixon leads. Steve Spray had moved momentarily up into 2nd place, but now Phil Mellor is past him, and Jamie Whittam's past him. Steve Spray's riding out of the race. He holds his hand out. Looks to me as though Steve Spray's riding out of the race. But meantime, over the line again goes Darren Dixon, and the gap between himself and number 69, Jamie Whittam, is 2.5 seconds. The Norton of Simon Buckmaster, the man you saw talking to me earlier on in the programme, is in the pits. He has a gearbox selection problem. That's Steve Spray going out of the race, waving his hands in despair. And that's Darren Dixon doing the same thing. And the yellow flags are out. They're stopping the race. The yellow flags are out. The yellow and the crossed stripes of red, and the red flags are being waved. And for those of you who are saying why, I haven't the faintest idea. I suspect somebody must have come off unseen by us. There's the answer. Somebody has come off. I'm just trying to work out as I look at the picture where it is. It looks to me as though it's the approach to... It's Church. It's coming out of Church Corner. Somebody has come off. So at the end of the 7th lap, the positions were Darren Dixon leading, with in 2nd place Jamie Whittam, 3rd Phil Mellor. Now it is possible, I don't know, that they will restart the race and have a 2-part race, and the results of the whole Formula One race here at Thruxton will be decided on the aggregate times of those 2 races. But that is a hypothesis. I don't know. Whoever it was who came off looks to me as though he is all right, because there he is in the background, and the race has probably been stopped because the machine was regarded as being a safety hazard on the side of the course. What a great pity, but what a blessing that whoever it was who came off, and I'm sorry I couldn't identify him, is obviously perfectly all right. We have no news of a restart, and they're still coming in. There is, we know, going to be a restart, and there is the problem on the other side, because it was not the rider who we had seen behind the banking at Church. It was someone else. And so the news is from Thruxton that with the race likely but not definitely to be restarted at the end of the first leg, a very convincing lead for Darren Dixon from Jamie Whittam and Phil Mellor. Yes, there's 2-4 Sports who have organised this meeting, have done an absolutely superlative job in getting the course cleared and getting everybody reorganised. And the man you saw standing up behind the bank with his machine in front of him was Mark Phillips, who's coming on the back of his teammate Keith Ewan's Yamaha, and he's perfectly okay. So we are now going to have 3 laps. This is going to be a sprint race par excellence, because we've already had 7, And at the end of those 7 laps, Darren Dixon was leading on his 5. There he is, number 9, just on the left of your screen there. He's in the front row of the grid with Jamie Whittam, who was in 2nd place. Phil Mellor there, number 10, who was in 3rd place. Trevor Nation, number 5, on the 600cc rotary engine Norton. Steve Chambers was in 5th place, and Andy McGladdery, the man who won at Carnaby on the Norton rotary, and that was the first time a rotary Norton had won a race. But now all is set. You can see the man at the front with the red flag, and when he clears the track, they will be given the 30-second board, and that means a maximum of 30 seconds, because there is the board, and it'll be considerably less than 30 seconds, I'm sure. They're just checking that the track is clear now. There was a problem earlier on, but I sincerely hope that all is right now, because engines are revving, and although they are not in 1st gear and therefore in danger of dragging their clutches, the tension will be rising. Less than 30 seconds. 3 laps. It's go. And a gigantic wheelie from somebody in the middle of the screen as they go round Allard up towards the complex, Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave. And it's Jamie Whittam in the lead. It's Steve Chambers in 2nd place. It's Phil Mellor in 3rd. Jamie Whittam, who finished 2nd in the 1st leg. So if he can stay where he is on aggregate, he's likely to win. And look at the way he's pulling away on his 750cc 4-stroke Suzuki. Darren Dixon will be going hard for it. Look for the man in the yellow leathers. I haven't seen him yet. There he is. I just caught a flash of Darren Dixon, the man who has won all 3 of our grandstand televised Formula 1 rounds thus far this season. But Jamie Whittam is setting a searing pace. We've already had Wayne Gardner's lap record at just under 100 miles an hour, very convincingly broken by Steve Spray, who then had to ride in and retire in the 1st leg on his 500cc Suzuki. Steve Chambers is 2nd. Phil Mellor, number 10, is in 3rd position. Mark Phillips, number 5 on the Yamaha, is in 4th place, or was, as they went into the club chicane. But it is Whittam leading, Mellor 2nd, Chambers 3rd, and in 4th position, it's Trevor Nation, number 5 on the rotary engine Norton. There he is, that is Nation, that is Trevor Nation. The man who knocked 1.5 seconds off the Formula 1 Donington lap record on that rotary engine Norton. There he is, and he produces 140 horsepower and he's chased by Darren Dixon, the man who's leading the championship and who won the first 7-lap leg. There's Dixon. Now we've just got 2 laps. We've got this one and the next one, and this is going to decide the Formula 1 result. And I suspect I may be having to tell you in some other way than myself now, because it's going to be very complicated to work it out on aggregate. But at the present moment, Jamie Whittam leads, and he's got a lead that leads me to believe that if you put the time for the 3 laps that he's about to do with the time of the 7 laps he has done, he will be the overall winner, particularly as Dixon is behind him and well behind him. So, with Phil Mellor, the man who has had a bad season in 1988, looking to make amends for it. He hasn't had a win this season, but he's in 2nd place and going for it now, because they're coming up to start the 3rd and last lap in this sprint race. Over the line, 1 minute 22.93. That has shattered Wayne Gardner's lap record, faster than Steve Spray. Jamie Whittam is going for it. This is the last lap. Whittam leads, Mellor is 2nd, Trevor Nation on the Norton is up into 3rd position. In 4th place it is Steve Chambers on the Honda. In 5th position it's Darren Dixon, the man who won the first 7-lap leg. But Whittam looks as though he is on his way. Look at the gap between himself and Phil Mellor as they come up towards the right-hander at Church. You'll recognise it because you'll see the marshal's post and the runway going into the track, and Trevor Nation is catching them. Trevor Nation on the Norton, 140 miles an hour, is in 3rd position. The man from Salisbury, not so very far away from the track here at Thruxton. He's going to finish a superb 3rd at worst, but is Mellor or Whittam going to win this leg? If Whittam wins the leg, he has certainly won the race. They're out of the left-hander now at Brooklands. They're down to the chicane. It's the last few hundred yards, and Trevor Nation is gaining on them. And it's still Whittam leading, Vela second, Nation third, and the punch of that Norton coming out of Benz is terrific. Nation might yet do it, but it's Whittam, it's Vela, it's Nation, first, second, third. In fourth position, it is Darren Dixon. And so, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that in my view, without a doubt, as Jamie Whittam puts his thumbs up, and he well may do that, and his dad in hospital will be truly delighted, because Jamie Whittam, subject to official confirmation, has won the Formula One race at Thruxton.